What's up YouTube, Capital G here, checking out the first revealed cards from the brand new OCG Premium Pack 2020. This was a set where I wasn't sure what the heck was going to be in here, but it looks like we're getting new Gearfried support and also support for Altergeist and Rose Dragons. Definitely makes a lot of sense. Konami has been pushing Rose Dragons a lot lately. They're getting a Link monster in Link Frames Pack 3, and when it comes to Gearfried, well, we are getting a Warrior Structure deck, plus Jaden is getting all these warrior cards for evil heroes and elemental heroes, so it definitely kind of makes sense. Anyways, let's start with the new Gearfried monster. Surprisingly, it is a fusion monster. This is Guilty Gearfried, the Magical Steel Knight. It is a level 8 light warrior monster. It's a fusion, as I said earlier. 2700 attack, 1600 defense, and its materials are 2 warrior monsters with different attributes. As soon as I heard that, I thought to myself, E-Heroes maybe? Because obviously E-Heroes, like, that's the same summoning condition as something like Sunriser. It's basically identical. All your hero monsters are going to be warriors, so that was just like the first deck that came to my mind. Your first effect says once per turn, when a card or effect that targets this card is activated, this is a quick effect, you can negate that effect, and if you do, destroy one card on the field. Second effect, if this card was fusion summoned using only materials that were on the field, it can make 2 attacks during each battle phase. Third effect, once per turn during damage calculation, when this card battles an opponent's monster, you can banish 1 spell card from your graveyard. That's a cost. This card gains attack equal to half its current defense until the end of this turn. Alright, so this is like one of those monsters that has multiple effects, and they're all pretty good. I look at the first effect and I think, well, kind of makes it so your opponent will never want to target this guy. They're not probably going to just throw an effect veiler, a Widow Anchor, an Afterburner, or some type of effect at it, because they know that that effect will almost certainly be negated, as the negation is absolutely free. And then in addition to that, you get the Destroyer card on your opponent's side of the field if you want, and that destruction with the first effect is non-targeting as well, which I love. Second effect is nice. It gives you double attacks, and even if this guy is just attacking with his base 2700, if you are attacking twice and it's directly, that damage is going to add up. I mean, you only get it when you fuse using materials on the field, but to me, that's a little bit of icing on the cake. The third effect is excellent. It makes it so if you're battling an opponent's monster, you can crank this guy up to about 3,500 during that battle phase. So it does make this guy a little more difficult to take down. My only question is, where exactly does Konami want you to run this? I mean, I guess you could probably throw it into like one of those maybe ISO turbo decks, because those decks are pretty much like warrior based. But I look at heroes and I think, man, they would be perfect for this deck, or this card would be perfect for like hero builds. But the problem with heroes is all of their plays kind of lock them into elemental heroes. I guess Six Samurai run a bunch of different attributes in their deck, but I don't really know that Six Samurai want a fusion summon. Regardless of what deck this card fits in, I do believe that it's a solid card, and all of its effects are fairly good. Our next monster is a level 1 water monster. This is Crystal Girl. She's a level 1 water spellcaster, 200 attack and 100 defense. She has a hard once per turn on both of her effects, and her first effect says, if this card is normal / special summon, you can activate this effect. During the end phase of this turn, add 1 level 5 or higher water monster from your deck to your hand. Effect number 2, if this card is in your graveyard and you control a level 5 or higher water monster, you can special summon this card but banish it when it leaves the field. Okay, so when I first read Crystal Girl, the first couple of decks that popped into my mind, and by no means am I saying that these are the most optimal, they're just the first ones that I thought about, were Mermail and Necroz. And it's obvious because they have tons of high level monsters in those 2 archetypes, and I guess even in something like Necroz, during your end phase you could grab like a Valkyris, and that can be used during the opponent's turn like defensively. In a deck like Mermail, even if you didn't normal summon this card, you could pitch it as a water monster from your hand for, I don't know, like a Megalo effect or an Abyssius effect, just using it generally as like discard fodder in Mermail, which, you know, facilitates a lot of their plays. I do like the fact that this card does not have to stay on on the field to get that surge. For instance, since it is a level 1 monster, you could normal summon it, activate its effect on summon, go for a Link Karibo, and then during the end phase get a surge. I'm not really sure if that's worth it. That feels a little slow. Like, I would much rather use my normal summon on like Deep Sea Diva or Nept Abyss or Manju Sanju, something like that. But it is technically a 1-for-1 target, and I do believe that a decent amount of Mermail builds do run 1-for-1 because it summons Nept Abyss. So, I mean, maybe it could work in Mermail, but I'm not honestly sure if it's worth it. I think we'll have to see if there are more cards that kind of support this. I will say this, if you do happen to play this card or you test it in Mermail and you're using it as discard fodder from the hand, there is a very good chance that you will be able to special summon it from the graveyard, because if you pitch it for Megalo or Abystius, you're going to get that level 5 or higher water monster right on the field at that point, and then you will be able to special summon it. So you know what, maybe it can actually work in Mermail, and a deck like Necroz, I'm not exactly sold on it. Next up is the long-awaited Altergeist Link 4 monster that if you watch the Yu-Gi-Oh! Reigns anime, you know all about. Hopefully we get another support card for Altergeist. I'd like to see a nice trap, because the support for the deck post Multi-Faker has not been very good. None of the cards have really hit the main deck. Anyways, this is I was gonna say Multi-Faker. This is Altergeist Memory Gant, Link 4, Dark Spellcaster. She has 2800 attack. Her link points are the same as Borolo Dragons, and she requires 2+ Altergeist monsters to summon. First, second, and third effects are all hard once per turn. First effect, during the player's battle phase, you contribute one other monster. This card gains attack equal to that monster's attack. Second effect, when this card destroys a monster by battle, you can destroy one other monster your opponent controls. If you do, this card can make one more attack in a row. Third effect, if this card would be destroyed, you can banish one monster from your graveyard instead. Okay, so I'll admit, Memory Gant is a nice addition for Altergeist. She's pretty solid for a Link 4. You got 3 different attacks. First off, she does have protection from any type of destruction, whether it be battle destruction or just like card destruction, and you can banish any monster from your graveyard. Doesn't even have to be an Altergeist. You can banish a used up Ash Blossom, something that you're not going to get back. Second effect is pretty solid. If she runs over a monster, you get to blow up another one of your opponent's monsters that doesn't target, and you get an additional attack. And if she's coming through at 2800 plus, that can definitely be a decent amount of damage. Even her first effect is pretty solid, where you can tribute a monster and you can gain that monster's attack. I would imagine you'd probably want to gain, or you probably want to tribute maybe a Miluseek that already attacked and use its effect, because Miluseek could obviously float and you just get 500 more damage pretty much for free. But this card is unnecessary for Altergeist. I mean, this is coming from someone who, I don't remember when the regional was that I played Altergeist and I got 11th place, but I played the entire tournament, guys, and I only summoned 2 monsters from my extra deck. Those monsters were Link Karibo and Hextia. It is very rare that Altergeist will go above a Link 2 in the situations that you need to. They're very, very rare. You don't really summon anything except a couple of monsters in Altergeist. So while this card is pretty nice for the deck, with you playing Extravagance and then you rarely ever going above Link 2, it's just kind of unnecessary. Personally, I would have rather had another solid trap card for the archetype. That could have been something that fit in easier into the main deck and kind of helped Altergeist a little bit. This is a card where, I mean, I'll run one of it just in case that one Blue Moon opportunity comes up where this card is useful and I haven't already banished it from Extravagance. But honestly, you really don't need to play this card. I think your best opportunity is maybe in turns where you need to make a really big monster to get over something like a Boroload, but you're locked into Altergeist because of Multi-Faker. That would be the prime opportunity to summon this card, but I really don't think Altergeist will really play this card because it's just going to be unnecessary. Next up is a Rose Dragon field spell. This is White Rose Cloister. Your first effect is a hard once per turn that says if you control no monsters, you can special summon one Rose Dragon monster or plant monster from your hand. Second effect, during your draw phase before you draw, you can declare one card type, monster, spell, or trap. Reveal the top card of your deck, and if it is the type of card you declared, apply the following effect for the rest of this turn. Level 7 or higher synchro monsters you control gain 1000 attack. Okay, so the second effect is a little bit of icing on the cake. I don't really think there's a reason not to use that effect. It's pretty much all reward and almost no risk, giving your opponent a little little bit of information, fine, whatever, but you are talking about any of your high synchro monsters are going to get a little more damage. That can definitely be very relevant with like a Boiled Savage Dragon, but the first effect is the money-making effect of this card. I mean, you're talking about being able to special summon like a Lone Fire Blossom from your hand for free. Imagine you open with like double Lone Fire Blossom, special summon one with the first effect of this card, and then just normal summon another one. And generally these kind of special summon from hand effects are always good in these archetypes, but when you're talking about plants, monsters even as old as like Titanial, being able to get them on the field relatively easily, like that's just really solid. It's a really solid effect in my opinion. Our last card is another Rose Dragon support card. This is Rose Princess. She is a level 3 earth plant monster, 1200 attack, 800 defense. Her first effect is a hard once per turn. If only your opponent controls a monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, this card is treated as a tuner. Second effect, you can discard this card, the search White Rose Cloister, from your deck to your hand. So it searches the field spell we just talked about. Okay, so this is a fine card. Not only does it not need to be normal summon, because you can just discard it to search the Rose Dragon field spell, but it also does not have to be normal summon. If your opponent controls a monster, you have that Cyber Dragon special summon kind of clause built into this card where it hits the field without using your normal summon, but it does turn itself into a tuner, thus making synchro summoning a little bit easier, or Crystron Needle Fiber if we ever get that card. We know we won't, but this seems like a pretty solid card for the Rose Dragon archetype. I think that more cards like this, more ways of being able to drop monsters on the field without using your normal summon is always good for an archetype, and Rose Dragon's just got 2 cards that do that. So whatever you guys think of any of this support, leave it in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. As always, subscribe if you have not already, and turn on that notification bell for daily videos.